I'm gonna put some dirt in your eye.
Like and subscribe! Many spoilers for the game. I am just going to assume you've seen it. If you haven't, you'll probably understand none of what I'm about to say. Let me paint a picture for you. October 20th, 2023. I wake up, and I know that later that day I'm going to my friend's house and we are all going to play Spider-Man PS5, aka Spider-Man 2. A little background information. The first video game that I ever owned for myself as a young child was Ultimate Spider-Man, and my favorite Spider-Man villain is Venom. My favorite Spider-Man costume is the black suit. Spider-Man is quite possibly my favorite fictional character of all time, and I quite enjoyed playing the first game. Additionally, I also really liked the story of the first game. And so me and my friends Zach and Riley were extremely hyped when the game finally got to Zach's house. We put it in, and funnily enough, the disc wouldn't work, so he had to actually return it, and he bought it online for his PlayStation. He still got the pre-order bonus from ordering the physical edition. However, it was still a very stressful hour while we tried to figure out any way to get the disc to work, but sadly Amazon had broken it. And by the time the game finally finishes installing, it's about 8 p.m. We then played till just about 3 a.m. Now, the next day, I woke up and left the house, and I, obviously, when I got home, I really wanted to know the rest of the game's story, and so, I watched the rest of the game's cutscenes online, mixed in with some gameplay along with some update from my buddy Zach about, what was happening when he kept playing. And when I'd been at my friend's house, I actually really loved the story thus far, and for a while into the story, I actually still very much enjoyed it. And then Venom bit off Kraven's head, and it was awesome. But the point when I'd say I stopped enjoying it was when Harry Venom gets to his mother's grave. Now, I like the idea of Venom manipulating Harry and being like, Harry, we can achieve your dreams and, fix the world by ruling it. I don't like that Venom immediately takes over all of New York. Making Venom immediately powerful enough to just kind of snap his fingers and take over the city effectively, in my opinion, is kind of bullshit. And from this point forward, my problem with Venom increases, because I love Venom. Venom is nothing like Venom in this game at all. Venom in this game is basically a character that's brand new, that's using Venom's name and kind of pretending to be him. For example, later on, he just kind of grows wings for, a scene. I'm not a huge fan of that, not particularly so. It really feels like they wanted to jump to Null, but they had to do Venom first, so they just made Venom Null and decided not to do Null by making Venom Null instead. Now onto Miles, which, oh boy, ooh boy. Miles' main arc throughout this game is unironically amazing. Him learning to forgive Martin Lee for essentially killing his father is such an amazingly well-written arc, but it ends before the very end of the game, and for some reason they decide to give him another mini arc conclusion thing that doesn't really tie in with it. In fact, it's the same arc conclusion they had in the last game, where he makes a new suit, and he claims that this is him becoming his own Spider-Man, even though that's the entire point of him making the classic suit in his own game. Plus the suit looks like ass. And the funniest part is that this is Miles' oh, I'm my own Spider-Man suit, but it looks more like a Peter suit than his last two suits did. Literally make the mask red and you have a Peter suit on your hand. I don't know what his thought process was. Is he stupid? And then at the very end, they decide to make Peter's arc learning to take a break, which is fine if the very start of the game was an explicit proof as to why Peter and Miles should both be Spider-Man at the same time. The entire point of Spider-Man is I can do both, not I should do neither. I genuinely don't think any good adaptation of Peter Parker would ever stop being Spider-Man, even for any sort of extended period of time. And this arc really falls flat because it's kind of the conclusion to him and MJ kind of having struggles with each other's relationship. But in Miles Morales, they took a vacation with each other, and unless Peter was fighting Dr. Doom the entire time, that was him making a sacrifice and stopping being Spider-Man for a short period of time to support MJ. So this is a non-issue with them. It really feels super contrived to have him go through an arc that it feels like he should have had before the previous game. It almost feels like they had two writing teams who both wanted to be the first person to integrate these elements into the story, even though they're part of the same universe, so it doesn't make any fucking sense to have them both be part of the story. And then there's the whole anti-venom thing, which creates a massive plot hole, and I'll explain that real quick to you. So Miles works with Martin Lee and kind of like, he doesn't forgive him, but he stops hating him. And they go through Peter's mind to kind of stop the symbiote's effect on him because there's like traces in his body still. And together, Martin's power plus with the leftover traces of the symbiote create the anti-venom symbiote. Just like in the comics. I mean, slightly different circumstances, but you get my point. And later Kurt Connors says, oh, by the way, to stop Venom, you're gonna have to kill Harry. This doesn't end up being true. Well, it kinda does, let me explain further. You see, Harry temporarily dies when the symbiote is destroyed. However, Miles uses his electricity powers to kind of shock his nervous system back to life. And my immediate thought was, okay, now Peter's gonna give him the anti-venom symbiote and Harry's not gonna die, because the reason Harry had the symbiote at all in the first place was so it would stop him from dying from his illness. In fact, there's literally no reason why Peter wouldn't even try to give Harry the anti-venom symbiote. He literally describes it as, it's the same thing, same power buff, same everything, it makes me feel good, except with none of the downsides, which completely destroys the drug allegory, but I'll get to that in a second. But this inadvertently makes Green Goblin's motivations for the next game completely bullshit, because it makes him correct in the fact that Peter literally could have saved his life. Peter could have saved Harry's life really easily, and Harry would have been living his dream life with literally no complications. I don't fucking get it. It's stupid. And now into the drug allegory stuff. So, ever since Spider-Man 3, a lot of writers have decided to take inspiration from that film and make the symbiote a drug allegory, which is awesome. It's a really great way to adapt the symbiote. By giving Peter the anti-venom symbiote, it makes the entire drug allegory thing kind of pointless, because it literally just gives him an alternative of the exact same highs with none of the lows. It ruins the allegory. The introduction of the anti-venom suit in this game at all completely ruins everything after it's introduced. The only arc in this game that has any sort of satisfying conclusion is MJ, because she finds her own way to do what she wants to do without working for Jonah. Good for her, honestly. I cannot preface enough that up until Harry went to his mom's grave, I liked this game's story a lot. I thought that it was genuinely going to be my favorite video game story of all time, which is a big thing. It would be like if at the end of Endgame it suddenly became as shitty as Ghost Rider 2. There were some good moments sprinkled in between all this bullshit, such as Miles' like not forgiveness thing with Lee. I think that's very good. Hell, I think the character writing was pretty good. I just think the situations they were put in was kind of stupid. I kind of wish that they just hadn't given Peter the symbiote and then had him just kill Harry. Have him be like, oh, this isn't what Spider-Man stands for and that's why he takes a break. The only thing I don't see really working out the same is Norman's reasoning for becoming the Goblin in the next game, but that is probably really easy to write around. Like, maybe he's grieving Harry in his office and then a worker comes in and says the G serum is done, and then Norman gets really angry because, oh great, thanks for doing it after all of this. And then maybe he like thinks about taking revenge on Spider-Man, and like then he takes the serum in the next game to like make himself even more powerful or something, because it's like, oh, if it did make Harry as strong as a normal person, maybe it would make me super powerful, who knows? Or just because he's becoming a druggie or something to parallel Peter's symbiote arc with the drug allegory. Hey, the gameplay is peak though, so I guess I can't complain about that. The story is just probably the most disappointing I felt in a long time. It made me physically sick by the end of it, and I nearly felt like crying. I feel really stupid for reacting this way over, like, a video game story, but I don't know, I really, really liked the way that the story was going, and then it got horrendous, and I wasn't a fan. And then, with the introduction of Cindy Moon, one, they're gonna have to completely change her origin, oh dear god, but also, I really feel like it's just kind of replacing Peter with her, and giving Miles his own Miles? It's kind of like they wanted to do this at some point, and just decided to do it in the second game, even though it would really make a lot more sense for a lot of these character points to happen further in the future, like after Goblin, like in Spider-Man 4. My friends really don't understand why I hate it this much, and I guess it's understandable. It is a really visceral reaction to something very simple, but I don't know, I just really, really wish that it was better. Because, like, a lot of these are pretty objective problems. Repeating arcs that already happened, character arcs that don't make sense, shoving character arcs in where they don't belong, completely changing Venom's character, giant plot holes due to anti-venom. If you agree with me or disagree with me and have any sort of reaction to this video, feel free to comment. I will probably respond. This isn't even engagement baiting. My channel is really small. I just honestly kind of want to have a conversation about this because I am so disappointed by the way this story went. And I don't know, if someone can maybe explain to me why a lot of this really isn't that bad, I guess I'll listen. I just really feel like there's so many problems I have with this game's ending, and if you want to talk to me about it, I guess feel free to comment below. And if you want to subscribe because you want to hear me talk about Spider-Man a lot, I don't do a lot of Spider-Man stuff. I just really like the character. I do it from now and then. I actually have a Marvel-themed Minecraft server that I do my own writing for, and I don't think it's amazing, but I sure hope it's better than this. I do a lot of Minecraft though, so if you're interested in checking that out, it'll be in the top left and right of the screen. Whether you agree with me or not, feel free to like, dislike, I don't care really. Either which shows your emotions. Bye-bye.
I'm gonna put some
Like, subscribe!